There are some agents that got licensed in 2020 and 2021 that have already exited the business. It was so easy. You put a sign in, you sell it, it's gone. Where now it's getting back to a skill set market.
And I had this moment where I would call it like the Truman Show's hitting the wall. I didn't really tell anyone that I started a company. And so for me, I had this period where I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone what I'm doing.
Real estate's a very transient business, and agents come and go. They always think the grass may be greener.
In my whole generation, I mean, there's a general shame and risk to even buying a house. Like I can think anyone that I went to college or high school with, for the most part, thought buying a duplex was reckless. When you were finishing high school, seeing a lot of your peers and friends do what you would call status-based roles when you knew that wasn't the path.
Mike didn't go to college. I was in athletics. Some of the other parents were like, Mike's not going to college? What is he, crazy? Like they looked at them like, that is a huge mistake. Then they saw year one, year two. Oh my God, year two, he's already making 6 figures.
Today we are here for episode 63. I have Mike Incorvaia Jr. And before we start, I want to give you a compliment. One of the things I realize in business is that a lot of people are under pressure. And in the time I've known you, I would say you're a guy that's on top of a lot of pressure. Socially, I think you have a lot of the team that depends on you. And then obviously you've got kids and a dog. And it's been very impressive to see you manage it knowing how much the public doesn't see.
I think I get that background from my wrestling background.
Okay, so this is something for the camera. Just give people an idea. So 1, how long have you been in real estate? 2, I think what is unique about your entrance into it was something your family was doing that you entered. And then 3, do you still feel like the same guy? So to start off, give everyone a background of where you.
So the background's interesting. So basically what happened was I decided to I was in the car business right out of high school. So I was out of high school. I got in the car business. It was fun. A lot of fun stories, and the hours were crazy. You have no flexibility. I bought my first house 2 months after graduating high school.
So you were selling cars?
Selling cars. Then my dad had an insurance agency in Strongsville for like 30 years. And when the car thing got to be a little too much, I'm like, oh, let me get into insurance. Within a year's time, I am like, this is the most boring thing I've ever done. And then at the time, my dad's insurance company, he was with a company called American National Insurance, where now, like, I'm sure when you go to get your insurance or I get my insurance, my buddy that I use, he has 30 carriers that he has.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people just go to a captive agent. So when I was working with my dad, like friends of mine, their rates would go up $20. They're like, dude, why'd you raise my rates? I'm like, I didn't raise the rates. You think I drove to the home office and raised the rates $20? So I told my dad, I said, I got to get out of this. I'm getting into real estate. It was 2005. At the end of 2005, took my real estate test, passed right in 2006. And now I'm going on, this will be coming up the 20th anniversary of me. So 20 years being an agent. What's unique about it is the fact that when I was a teenager, my mom was an agent, and I'm logging in on AOL and her computer and the MLS back when the internet was newer, logging in, helping her pull up properties, doing stuff. Her and my dad are talking about real estate topics around the dinner table. So just like if you have an older house that was built on a certain year and then it got a remodel and they give it an effective age, it's almost like I have an effective age in the real estate business. Even though 2026 is going to be my 20th year in the business, it's really more like I've been in the business for 30 years because I've been around it so long. And a lot of people think, oh, when Mike got in the business, Sylvia just handed him all this business. That's not even remotely how it went. My first year in the business, the team was me, my mom, and my dad.
Yeah.
My dad got his license. He never sold a home at all. He does all the marketing and he helped Sylvia with her marketing and branding and all that. Then I got licensed to do some of the buyers. And yes, in the beginning, I ran a few of her buyers, but then I know so many people. My dad gets annoyed. Like when we go into Costco together, we'll run into 8 people. He's like, you're like the mayor in here. You run into 8 people, go to one of my kids' sporting events. That's kind of how it goes too, where I run into all these different people. But I love real estate now as much as I did when I first started. But as you know, because you work with a ton of realtors, things have changed dramatically.
Yeah. Like, do you feel that what you do, the job title is the same, but if you even think back to like 2005, does it feel like the same job at all? Or does it feel very different?
No, because right now, anybody who's in the real estate industry will tell you we're in a weird market right now. 2020 to 2023, I called it like the Babe Ruth market.
Okay.
Houses listed on Friday, sellers calling the shot, offers due on Sunday, line of people out the door. interest rates under 3%, people bidding way over, appraisal gaps, waiving inspections, all this stuff. Then the rates got up and up and up and up. And then it's like a freight train that just went off the tracks. But stuff was still selling in multiple offers because the inventory is low. So now I'm seeing in many cities where we still have low inventory. The rates are the best they've been in 13 months. But you still have sellers trying to price the house like it's 2021, and then their market time is longer. They're doing reductions. So it's definitely different than '05. Because remember, the crash happened in '08.
Yeah.
So in '08, '09, '10, like if you came to me to look for a house in 2010, I could literally sit down with you and say, all right, Alex, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the city you want, the price range you want, and then I would send you and Katie 25 homes. You would pick 10 that you liked. We'd go on a Saturday, look at all 10, and then you would walk out of that Saturday saying, oh my God, we have 4 that we love. Make an offer on the first one. If we don't get it, oh well, we'll move on to number 2. That's how it used to be when Isabel's slow, as you said it. Yeah, that's how it used to be, where now people are like, oh my God, I'm going to make an offer sight unseen.
Yeah, like how, from your angle, how odd do you think it is that I entered the world of understanding this in like end of 2020, early 21? Like, is that an odd time to start collecting knowledge about real estate?
It's not an odd time for you to collect knowledge about real estate, but it is a little bit skewed in the fact that, but you're around enough, you're around us and other top agents who have explained to you kind of how it was and the differences, so you understand. Where there are some agents that got licensed in 2020 and 2021 that have already exited the business because they just, it was so easy. You put a sign in, you sell it, it's gone. Where now it's getting back to a skill set market. If I went through everything we did when we list a house, people would say, oh my God, that's a ton of stuff. And we did it when it was a buyer's market, when it's a seller's market, and now when it's a balanced market.
So you've been through a couple cycles. You've seen the '08 up, down. You've seen the middles of the 2010s, and then obviously the last 2 markets. Do you think you'll be able to identify the next time you get what we call a free or a fun market, kind of like that Babe Ruth period?
Well, yeah.
Or is it kind of like you only notice the golden days when they're done?
I mean, to be honest with you, we never saw anything like it. I had clients that were like friends of mine. Like if I took you to look at a property and you pull up, you're like, screw this. We're not, there's a line of people out the door. We're not doing this. But then we had other buyers who are like, come on, like, let's do it.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So the quote I started this with is, I think you're on top of a lot of pressure, right? So I've talked to your mom about this even when you're not around. And she talked about, it was a huge deal that Mikey wasn't going to college. So how did you handle that when you were finishing high school, seeing a lot of your peers and friends do what you would call status-based roles when you knew that wasn't the path?
Do you know where that came from? Did my mom tell? I've heard her talk about that. Do you know where that came from?
See what you're talking about.
Mike didn't go to college. So some of the other parents, I was in athletics, some of the other parents were like, Mike's not going to college? What is he, crazy? Like they looked at them like, that is a huge mistake. Then they saw year 1, year 2. Oh my God, year 2, he's already making 6 figures. Year 3, he's making 6 figures. Year 4. And then some of the kids are coming out of school with debt up to their eyeballs, can't get a job, have bounced around from career to career. And it was a big risk. It was a big risk doing that. But the thing about me from a young age is I know how to make deals. I know common sense strategies to make deals, and I put that into my real estate every day. Sometimes there's things on deals because we have 53 agents on our team and they call me all the time when they're having scenarios on deals. And sometimes it could be the easiest thing, like, Alex, all you got to do is structure it this way. And then you say, oh my God, that was so easy to figure out. But they haven't been through it to know that that's the way that it should be done. But yeah, at first, everybody thought like, what are you, crazy, not going to college? But for me, it made the most amount of sense.
Yeah. So I think I've loosely told you my story that I told my parents my senior year, I don't want to go. And it wasn't really an option. They had been saving this money for me. So it was like, we have to use it for college. COVID hit when I was in my last year. And there was a moment where I realized in my senior level marketing class, we were doing free work for Sherwin-Williams. And Sherwin-Williams was paying the university for that work. And I was getting calls from my teacher at like 10 p.m.
Was this for video editing or what was this for?
General marketing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So not even close. I mean,
the stuff that you probably didn't even really want to do that you found out you were doing for free.
Yeah. And so I realized that they were basically having us do their market research. instead of paying a team to do it. And I had this moment where I would call it like the Truman Show's hitting the wall. And so I didn't really tell anyone that I started a company. I just found a local barbershop, whined to him. We started doing their Google ads and their video. And so for me, I had this period where I was like, I'm not going to tell anyone what I'm doing. So do you think it was actually in hindsight beneficial that you almost had to have that period where you were, I don't want to say the black sheep, but you definitely weren't going on the traditional path so that you had to build your own internal system of I'm doing the right thing?
Oh, there's a lot of people that told me you're nuts. Like, what are you doing? My friends all loved it. The fact that I bought a house 2 months after we all graduated high school. It was a huge party house. Like, it was a great, it was like having a college frat house, and it was in Berea. But I ended up selling that house, making money on that house, then buying my next house, selling that house, making money on that house, and then buying the next house, selling that house, making money on that house, and eventually kept moving up and up and up and up to establish a base where, fast forward here, and I'm 45, I'll be 46 next year, and we're completely debt free.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people that word is scary because they know it's far away. And I saw it too. I mean, I know tons of my friends that when I just think of like the actual amount of money they'd have to make to pay the debt off and even get there eventually, it seems very inverse. So
Right.
When you look at all of the people that you've helped as clients, do you think that America today is stronger or weaker than it was in 2005 when you look at general buying power?
I mean, obviously the interest rates being much higher. I mean, when it was that time, they were probably in the fours,
Okay.
maybe 4s to 5s. I think at one point on one of my house, I had like a 6.25. I never saw until recently in my lifetime 7s and even 8s. But I think the problem is some of these buyers that go out when we go on appointments and their parents are with them, they're not doing them any favors by saying, well, when I bought my house in Parma, the rate was, 17%. Yeah, well, you paid $43,000 for the house. Your kid's buying the same house now for $285 at 6.5%. The payment's 6 times higher.
Do you think that, so how do you think having Sylvia as your mom affected your ability to even buy your own houses? Because I'll say this comfortably, most of my friends in my whole generation, I mean, there's a general shame and risk to even buying a house. Like I can think anyone that I went to college or high school with, for the most part, thought buying a duplex was reckless. It was Alex is pushing it. This is unnecessary. Why not just rent and keep it easy?
Yeah, but you have a duplex now, and do you have the other side rented?
No.
But when you do, it's going to pay your payment.
Correct. Yeah. And so when I looked at it, even to tell everyone, so we fully renovated it. Katie completed everything about, I want to say a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We do have the Airbnb listing. We haven't put it live, but even with us having no other tenant, it's still, I think, $84 less than what I was renting.
Well, and here's the other thing too. When I got my first home, I want to say I could pull it up in the MLS. It was probably like 85, 90,000 for this ranch in Berea. I was 2 months out of high school. Who's going to give me a loan? Who's going to give me a loan? I just got the job at the car dealership. I have no time on the job. My parents didn't co-sign for me. My dad had a hard money guy that he knew that I paid him the mortgage payment. And you know what it did? In my mind, it mentally set me up. It didn't matter. That guy was the bank. You're paying every single month.
Yeah.
So it got me in the mindset. And then when it came to the point where I was able to do it, then I, ended up getting a regular loan on it. And then that kind of triggered everything. And I'm proud to say, since I've been 18 years old, I've never missed a payment on a house, a credit card, a car, anything. Many times paid for stuff in full. Use the mindset, if I can't pay for it, don't get it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of risk when I was 18. And now we're 20 years later and we're just starting to talk to, what we're going to do about me leveraging out of not actually running buyers anymore and having the team do it, where some agents do that after 5 years?
What was your coaching insight you shared with me a couple weeks ago after the mastermind?
Oh, we were sitting with our coach and my wife got her license. Real estate's a very transient business and agents come and go. They always think the grass may be greener. I personally tend to think that we offer a ton on our team in terms of value, but we have agents that come and go. And I was tired of having agents run some of my buyers. And then when they left, they would think that those were their clients. So I said, I'm going to get Kara licensed. I'm going to get my wife licensed. So she's been licensed now for about going on 2 years. And she's gone on buyer appointments with me, done follow-up stuff with the buyers. And then our real estate coach goes, I thought you guys wanted more time together. What are you, nuts? He goes, she's going to be running buyers and you're going to be doing listings. And then we figured out a way to leverage out the buyer showings where we have a showing assistant show the properties and I still do all the negotiations. So I'm not physically running to each house and dealing with that. But then Kara is my right hand on listings, where she goes to all the listing appointments with me, and we can then, communicate with the sellers, where she is more like a listing coordinator for me with the sellers, which makes way more sense.
Yeah. But I think this is like the permission thing, which is, I obviously work with Katie, and there's a lot of times where you just get in your own traps and you don't even realize you're in them until someone on the outside looks and is like, what's going on here?
Well, that's why you have to be coachable. Just like our agents have to be coachable, we as team owners have to be coachable.
Yeah. So you obviously have people that reach out, they're interested in joining the brokerage. How has it been for you to, like, obviously you have your own internal goal system. You're coming into people that may not have that same internal goal system. So how are you actually leading those conversations? Because your dad will recruit people, but I know you get a lot of questions when people are in and they may not have the same motivation as you.
It just depends on really what they want to do, because there's about 6,000 or 7,000 agents in our MLS locally. About 20% of us do all the business. Once you get to like agent 2,000 through 6,000, most of them did one deal or zero deals. So there's a lot of people who pay the fees to carry their license, but they don't do much. And we now, with the way we have our team set up, we have Laura Justice on our team, who is our team coach, who runs weekly coaching. And she was a MAPS coach when we were with Keller Williams, and she was the broker at the Keller Williams Elevate office that we used to be the owners of. My dad owned Westlake, Citywide, Keller Williams, and Strongsville, and then ended up selling those franchises. And then we made the move over to EXP. But there are agents who come in and they want to hit the ground running. I talk about him all the time. Alan Evangelista. You know him. He's a great dude. He's hilarious. He was a teacher for 20 years in Olmsted Falls. And one day he just said, I don't want to teach anymore. I want to do real estate. And he wrestled with me as the coach on his wrestling team. And Alan was a great wrestler. And he's got that go and do it mindset. And he's mentally tough and doesn't let things get in the way of his path. He's already closed almost 30 deals in his first year and got Rookie of the Year. A big majority of agents in the country don't close 30 deals in a calendar year. Ever.
One of the things, I don't know if I told you this, so I saw him at the Bob Schmidt Homes showing we did right before, I think it was like a week or two before he got his license.
Oh, okay.
And he looks around the room. You see, like, there's the executive group or whoever's with the builders. There's all of these agents that you guys invited to like come in here. And he goes, man, I'm just really hoping that this is like the right opportunity. And I looked at the room and I was like, I know that person sells this much real estate. These people are basically running this city. I was like, do you really think it's the room, or do you think it might be you?
Yeah.
And he's like, you're right, I can do this. And it's been so cool to see, because every time I see Alan, I walk up and I say, did you sell a house today? That's the only way.
He just posted on Facebook. I just saw it not that long ago. He had another one under contract.
So when I saw you at the event the other night, I came up to Alan and I said, did you sell a house? And he said, no, but I wrote an offer for my buyer. And one of the things that I see different in Alan than other people is he has a humility to never assume that he's right or better than something. That's honestly the one trait that, like, I meet a lot of new agents that I see join teams of people that I work with. And I think that was the one thing about Alan that was so unique, is I'd see your dad or Laura or you give advice to him. He never questioned it. He would do something first and then he would question the action.
Well, you know who's the same way is Kyle Peterson. Kyle's a Strongsville guy. I'm a Strongsville guy. Alan's a Strongsville guy. We all grew up similar. We all have the ability to talk to people, not afraid to go into different settings and talk to people. Kyle is one of the top agents on our entire team. Alan, Rookie of the Year. We have another guy. I don't know if you met him. Did you meet Kevin Kelly? Blonde hair. He's a wrestler.
I think I shook his hand. Didn't talk to him.
He was with a small mom and pop brokerage. He's only been on our team for a short period of time, and he's already done more in that short period of time than he did in a calendar year with that other brokerage, because they didn't have any of the tools, any of the technology, any of the support staff. I mean, with having a team of 50 agents, everybody's taking listings, and there's open house opportunities, and then there's coaching opportunities, and then they share ideas with each other, and they're bouncing, marketing ideas. We have every Monday at our office, Tanya runs Money Making Mondays. and helps them do Canva designs and market stat updates and all these different things that, in my opinion, some of the traditional brokerages, these agents go in, they get a 2-week crash course of how not to get in trouble out in the field. And then that's the end of it. Or their meetings are talking about, and I'm not saying this disparagingly because it's not, it's just a different business model, but they're talking about like, here's our new policies and procedures for the month, where we're talking about, what did you do this week? Did it work? Did it not work? What are you going to do next week? And then when you come back, we ask you, oh, you said you're going to send 200 mailers. Did you do it?
Yeah.
You know, and you've been there for that.
It's fun. Yeah.
And you've witnessed it. We had just the other day, we had our holiday party in Strongsville. Everybody was at our holiday party. And the next morning, we had so many people at coaching on Wednesday that there wasn't we have 70 parking spots in our lot. We didn't have one parking spot left over.
Yeah, I think even in the time I've known you, parking's gotten harder. So that's a compliment.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I've wanted to ask on camera, because I think this is the thing I respect about you the most, is you guys have obviously made impact. Your dad owned these market centers. Your mom has been a notable name in Northeast Ohio real estate. What has it been like for you to take criticism, judgment, or even online hate from people that have never shook your hand, talked to you, or done a deal with you just because you've done the deals you've done and your last name is Incorvaia?
Oh, God. I've heard everything from, he only gets his business because of his parents. Listen, I haven't tallied up the numbers yet, but I think I'm at about 36 or 37 million for myself. That is not team production, myself.
And you wake up to Sylvia handing you the lead and saying, here, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, when you look at our numbers, Sylvia's done a ton of business for a long time. Probably year 3 or 4 of me being in the business, I started doing more business than her. And it's become where when we do our team numbers, I don't even factor my numbers in when we're figuring out who's the top agent, because my production is so high. And it's funny to me, I get along with everybody, and I live rent free in some people's heads, some brokers that I've never even met, never done a deal with, never shook their hand. I had an agent that I just closed a deal with in Strongsville who said, oh my God, you are so easy to work with. This was such a great transaction. And I said, oh, did you hear differently from your broker? And they laughed. And I knew right then that that's where they heard that. And I've never had a communication with that person at all.
And so when you see that type of, let's call it communication or talking, do you think that's common across the country? Because I work in multiple markets, and I do think there's this thing in the Midwest where if someone's not doing well, they don't ask for help, or they don't try to join, or they don't try to go, why does it piss me off his production so much higher? I think it's easier to play the cheap game of talking. If you were to only be able to help these people, when they feel that anger or they feel that desire to talk the shit, what do you think would be more beneficial to them personally?
Well, here, and I'll just, address it up front. So we've had some builder accounts for many years. This is a verbatim story. We were at a top producer panel one time, and an agent came up to me, and we've always been in the top 3 in the state of Ohio for units and volume for the last 10 years. Every year at OAR, we get an award for top 5 team in volume and in units. And one agent was like, yeah, because of your Drees account. And I said, oh, well, I have the numbers. I go, if I subtract them out, we're still ahead of you. And it's not to be cocky or anything like that, but, everybody wants to find a reason why they can peg you down a couple notches. Quite honestly, I don't care if we were number 200 in the MLS. We've been in the top 5, but I don't care if we're number 200. I care that I have time to do what I want to do with my family. I have time to take care of my health, time to spend with my girls, play with my dog, go on vacations, and have super satisfied clients. And I have some clients that have done 7, 8, 9 deals with me because they love working with us. All of that is more important. And when I have a guy like Alan that wrestled with me, that I was his captain of his team, and I know he's on the verge of tripling his income that he made as a teacher, that's what gets me excited.
Yeah, how wild is that? Because I think off camera, I have several friends right now that it's hard to see their potential and to say that it's potential. Like, that's frustrating, and I have to control my actions, but I'm sure you've tried to help many of people. And how satisfying is it to see Alan just do the work?
I mean, both him and Kyle. I mean, they're just both phenomenal. I've had lenders call me and say, how long's Al been licensed? It seems like he's been licensed for 5 years. I said, he's not even at a year yet. He studies, he listens, he pays attention to how we speak to people. He stays calm during the deals. He's not screaming at other agents and getting worked up and all of these things. So, it's awesome to be able to coach those agents. And I think that with this platform, now that we're at EXP, we're in year 3. I was the biggest, and I'm saying this on camera, the biggest EXP hater, doubter when we were with Keller Williams.
And what was the hate?
Because I didn't know about it. But so my aunt was an agent in California a long time ago at Keller Williams. And she kept telling my parents about Keller Williams when we were with when my mom was with Realty One. As far as my dad's like, Carmen, we don't want to hear about it. We don't want to hear about it. Next thing you know, KW comes to Cleveland and my dad's all about it. Not only did we end up joining in 2006, my dad built basically the 2 biggest offices and recruited 600 or 700 agents in the area to those brokerages, to the point where some realtors will tell you, we could even do interviews with them someday, like they were like at open houses, oh shit, here comes Mike Sr. again. What does this guy want now? And then now they're like, we can't thank him enough for helping us make that move and taking our business to the next level. But we didn't know anything about EXP. We didn't want anything to do with it. And then 3 years ago, it happened. And everything that we heard, it's been the complete, we heard, oh, it's a cloud brokerage. You're never going to talk to anybody. There's no collaboration. Some people who don't, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. Listen, I'll tell you firsthand, we've talked to CEO Leo Perea and higher ups and all types of different people during the onboarding process. Our commissions get paid same day because it's virtual. Same day. Some brokerages wait 3 days, 4 days, a week. So we can confidently tell our agents they're getting paid same day. It's been absolutely phenomenal. In the training and education, there's enough like it's coming from a fire hose.
Yeah. What do you think is your dad's number one skill set when he talks to agents for the first time?
Taking a look at their business, breaking down everything and explaining to them, this is where you're at, looking at how many years they've done a certain number of production, taking the benefits of what we have available and showing them where they could be, what they would make, how much more money they would net in their pocket with that extra money that they're netting in their pocket, how they could use that for lead generation or marketing expenses or branding or whatever. We're big fans of branding. We've done billboards, we do print ads, we do social media, we do all these different things. And a lot of agents that we talk to, they'll say stuff like, oh yeah, I tried one of those Mimi's ads. It doesn't work. Well, you did one ad. We haven't missed an issue for 17 years.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where we were getting phone calls because that magazine goes to every house in Strongsville, every house in Columbia Station, every house in Medina, every house in Brunswick once a month, every house in Olmsted Falls, every house in Broadview, Royalton. And it got to the point where people saw us all the time in there and they're like, oh, we know you. We've never even met them.
But they know you.
And they say, come list our house. Not, hey, we're interviewing multiple realtors.
Yeah.
Which is a totally different call.
So this is something in Ohio that's unique because obviously like a majority of our business is outside of Ohio because
where do you guys do other stuff? Florida
is a big one. New York City, like the Austin to Dallas belt, I'll call it, of Texas, and then stragglers. We have some people in like Quad Cities. Iowa is a uniquely big market for us, a couple in California. And honestly, a lot of these entrepreneurs have like 5 places.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that's interesting is in Ohio, people seem unwilling to brand themselves, or if they do it, it's a pretend version of themselves. And one of the things I would say you guys did much better with this year was I think you trusted Katie and I to let the camera rip behind the scenes a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is when I get feedback, it's always about those videos. Like, yes, we'll have a good planned video, but it's usually the goofy ones outside of the script that most people ask me about. Why do you think that is?
Like the one with me and Christine Stoll talking about my Berea house that you just posted yesterday. That was true in that video. We did have a train that went right through the backyard.
But why do you think it is that so many people in Ohio are afraid to be the real them, not professional handshake them, but like who they are as a person?
I have no idea. Alex, over the years, we've seen so much stuff that you can't even believe. Like, we've seen people do ads that we know the people and we're like, that is not how they are. Then we've seen ads. There was shopping carts when I was in high school and Snoop Dogg was real big, and some lady put Lizzo Whip Shizzle on the carts, and my dad knew what it was because we listed that kind of stuff. But there's people that do ads that are, I think doing genuine ads about what you do and showing who you are is the best way to go versus doing something that's so right. Yeah, to the right and crazy and so left to where it's like, that's not even how they are. That's a glamour shot from 86.
Yeah. So you would say advice to others, like let's say a newer agent, just out the gate, start by being yourself and just be where you are.
Yeah, exactly. And, a lot of the videos like you and I have done, we talked about educational things and things that are going on and maybe things that consumers don't know. I saw an interesting post on Facebook the other day that an inspector that I know posted. A dad had like ripped open the crawl space and the dad was hanging out of the crawl space, and the inspector was like, I'm just going to pack it up and leave. So I kind of jumped in the comments because the couple agents were like, has anybody else had anything happen like this? I had one last year where my inspector put the ladder against the gutter and was up on the roof. I see the dad, the buyer's dad, going up the ladder, and I'm like, oh no, this isn't good. The inspector turns around on the roof and him and the dad are face to face. And he's like, what are you doing? You can't be up on the roof here. And, we see all kinds of crazy stuff that happens where I had somebody today at a final walkthrough who was like, was this the smoothest deal you ever had? And I'm like, not really. I'm like, it was pretty smooth. But I was like, I've had people die before closing, people lose their job before closing. I had a listing where I wasn't representing the buyer, where the buyer went out and got a DUI and wrecked the company car, lost his job, and the loan didn't go through. We've had people go out and buy $30,000 worth of furniture when their credit was right on the edge after, lenders put it in bold, no big purchases. We've had all kinds of tree fall on a house, water in a basement. I mean, and I've learned going on 20 years in the business, when I was newer, I used to lose my mind. I'll be the first one to say it on camera. I would get worked up and be like a huge ball of stress, and it was not healthy.
And Kara loved it.
Well, I wasn't with Kara then.
Okay.
We've been married since 2013. We've been together since the beginning of 2011. This was like in 09, like the earlier years. I don't even get worked up now. It's just like, what's the problem? How do we fix it?
Do you think that's a muscle, or do you think that's something you were born with?
I think it's a muscle, but like going back to the whole wrestling thing, I started wrestling when I was in 3rd or 4th grade. My dad started me in wrestling. I wrestled at St. Joe's in Strongsville. And then, it transcended into this thing where when I was in junior high and then into high school, Strongsville's high school was not your traditional 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. It was just 10th, 11th, and 12th. 9th grade was part of the middle school. So while most of these kids that were wrestling were on like the 9th grade team or the 8th grade team, I got pulled up to varsity as a freshman. And I wrestled about 25 or 26 matches as a freshman varsity. And then I ended up being a 4-year letter winner, which in Strongsville's history, there's probably less than 10 of us that have ever done that. And ended up getting the Haycom scholarship for wrestling and used that towards business expenses to get into business, which was great. But one of the things that happened that nobody, the guys that wrestle with me know. So every year, Mentor has probably what's considered the hardest district for wrestling. That's the tournament to go to states.
Yep.
Mentor Meat Grinder. The year that I was a senior was the first year, instead of taking the top 4 guys, they changed it to the top 3. And in the initial rounds, I lost a match and ended up wrestling all the way back to the semifinals and ended up losing to a kid 7-5 and didn't end up going to states. And it was soul crushing. And at the time when it happened, I'm like, I'm never going to recover from this. That lesson right there is kind of what taught me, no matter what happens, you got to be mentally tough. Because then the next year I'm out of high school and then they changed it back. I think it was to the top 5. So it was crazy. And, I was really thankful that they still ended up giving me the Hakem Memorial Scholarship, which was some money that I could use towards business and all that. But all the lessons when I was cutting weight and I was so disciplined and the working out, and my dad was a coach at Strongsville. So having my dad as a coach.
What is the difference between Mike's senior wrestling coach and Mike's senior office mentor?
I mean, in full transparency, the office of him coaching at the office is just like, hey, what do we got going on? What are we doing to get some new business? The wrestling coach was like, I'd be waking up in the morning and he'd be like, what are you doing going in the refrigerator? You're cutting weight. You can't go up. You got to go down. You can't, we're in the middle of the week. What are you doing? So it was a constant. They don't let you cut weight now in wrestling like they used to.
Yeah.
And, it was rough. My senior year, I wrestled 119 and I was probably close to 132 at the beginning of the season. And then, high 120s cutting to 119 every week. I think I was 19 years old the first time I had my first Christmas dinner. Because all those years, we had wrestling season, we had a big tournament, but all my buddies that I wrestle with, regardless of what industry they went in, they're all very successful and very driven because they have the I don't take no shit kind of attitude. And that's how you have to be when you're wrestling, because it's all on your shoulders. You don't make weight, it's your fault. You get pinned, it's your fault. And there's probably my senior year, probably about 4 or 5 matches that I could have won. I still had a great record, but it was because I got in my own head with an opponent that I probably could have beat, like, which Mike's going to show up? And after wrestling was over, I never wanted that to happen again. So I figured, why not become the state champ of real estate sales?
Yeah. Do you think mental toughness is the biggest thing lacking in a lot of my generation when they enter business nowadays?
Well, actually, one of the loan officers that's a wrestling coach, Chris Doyle, that comes to our office from Synergy, I'm going to speak to Highland's wrestling team on Tuesday. So we'll see, because he's trying to get through to them, because he thinks, he wrestled in college too, that there's a little bit of that lacking with this generation.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, like, I have very few friends my age that I can even talk that I run a business with. And these are people that I partied with in college, played sports with growing up, and it was always very positive. And I think there's a general fear or a general, I don't want to try, that's definitely plagued the under 30.
Are your buddies all buddies from when you were little kids, or are they from college age?
I would say middle school.
Because all my buddies, if you got around all of us in a group, we've all been friends since we were 5 years old. And we all grew up in the same neighborhood. So that's like, when you do the videos with me in Meadowood,
they all know that.
Oh my God. Kara gets so annoyed because when we all get together, we'll be talking about crazy stuff from the 80s. And she'd be like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
Yeah, I think a lot of them, it's the unclear direction, right? I think all of us had the same promise you had: go to college, get the job. And I think we're the first generation seeing the data that doesn't work clearly.
And here's the thing, because Kara and I have talked about this, I'm not anti-college for my daughters.
Yeah.
I'm saving money, putting money away for them. But listen, if they come to me and they're like, hey, Dad, we want to get in the real estate industry, done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is that I worked for Kent State. I don't know if I ever told you this. So I actually worked for the university, and this was probably in 2018. No, it was 2019. It was right before school year of 2019 into 20 started. And I was in a meeting with the dean of students and everyone. They were at 123% capacity on rooms full, and their job placement rate had dropped 40% year over year in the business school.
You've talked to Kara about Kent, right?
No.
Kara went to Kent.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know this story? You talk about kids who go to school and they get a degree. So Kara had a degree in fashion merchandising, which that's big at Kent, right?
Yep.
So we get together. She's working at Dillard's. She's a manager for handbags and retail and stuff like that. Then we get engaged, and I'm like, you're not working at Dillard's anymore. She got a job for a short period of time at a medical device company, and then she ended up having Luciana, our oldest. And I ended up paying off her student loans. And I said, fashion merchandising? People are walking around in sweatpants. We don't live in New York. You got a degree in fashion merchandising? Like, that's money down the toilet in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right? Now you're doing real estate.
Yeah. So I think the hard part for us was Katie and I realized like both of us expressed to our parents in high school we didn't want to go and it wasn't an option. And I want to give your mom a shout out because that was something she said. Is she said, I wasn't going to listen to what any of the other parents said because I saw whatever you had in your eyes that you wanted it. And so I think that's something that it's always interesting to hear someone who didn't go to college talk about the parenting side, because I think college has a great purpose. I met some of my best friends there. Fraternity connections have been amazing. But the reason I actually lost my role of like being the guy that welcomes everyone to the campus was the day after I watched The Truman Show. I had to talk to 400 families and kids who just took out a double mortgage to get this loan, leveraged everything. And one of the parents asked, what's the point of like maximizing this? Basically, how do you get the most of your money's worth? And I realized every answer I had, join a fraternity, play basketball at the rec, go lift in the morning when everyone's there. I didn't list off anything that the tuition was for. And they pulled me off giving that speech.
It's true though.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, like, again, like with my group of friends, since we've all been friends, we've had some that are really successful. Some have gone down different paths. We still try to all communicate. I've always been, and my friends will tell you this, the glue that's kind of held everybody together. It's no different with real estate. I'm connecting with people, keeping those connections open, events, doing things. And I've always been good at that with my friends and good at that with clients. And if we go back to the wrestling thing, the one thing that I believe that I excel higher than a lot of people, and you might know this, whatever I say I'm going to do,
Yeah, you do it.
I do it. There's no questions asked. Like I'm trying.
Wait. Other than set up your CRM.
No, it's set up now.
Okay, deal.
It's set up. Cool. It's set up. So we actually, with EXP now, have 3 different ones to choose from. We had one that I didn't like before, and now we have 3, which is great.
Okay, so you did it.
Yeah, it's done. Set up.
To end this, I want to ask a fun question. Who is Mario for the camera, and how awesome has he been for your family?
Mario's awesome. Mario's our dog. We're going on the 2-year anniversary of when he came home, because it was 2 years ago in December. He's a Bernese mountain dog mixed with a poodle, so he's a Bernedoodle, and he's big. He's not curly, he's shaggy, and he's brown, white, and like a tan color. And he's just like the most awesome dog. We had a dog before him named Bruno. There was a Wheaton Terrier that we just absolutely loved, but he was really hyper.
Okay.
Running around the deck, jumping off like Superman off the deck, going berserk when people walk by, cars, jumping on people. Mario, now a buddy of mine that I grew up with has a dog training company, and he does a really good job. He took Mario daily for like a month period and like took him into Home Depots, took him around people, all this stuff. Now Mario's like laying around. Amazon guy comes walking up the driveway. He's like, oh, you know, like he's cool as can be, likes to go for rides in the car. He's just an awesome dog. I would get another one from that breeder right now, but Kara said no way.
Not yet.
But you just went from 1 dog to 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Has it been crazy or is it better?
Easier. So everyone had a fear. You're gonna have 2 dogs. This is more work. And the one thing that I actually realized was moving is stressful for Katie. It's like a big time period for her. Selfishly, I knew business was growing. I was not gonna like be like Counselor Alex multiple hours of the day. And I knew that pets were such a good source of safety for her. We got the 2nd dog. It made the move easier. But now that they have 2 friends, any dog owner knows this. My human input to dog energy output is the best ratio it's ever been, because I can sit on the couch and they can wrestle for 3 hours.
Is there more of that now though? Because
wildly more.
Yeah.
Like we're probably at Monday through Friday, 3 to 4 hours at Taps and Tails, where they're actively playing and networking with 40 other dogs. I will get home, and while we're eating dinner, there's another hour to 2 hours of them pulling on a rope, wrestling, and they're both, Silly's about 3 and Chewy's 2.5.
So what would question for you before we wrap up here. So you work with all these different real estate teams, different states, different brokerages. What's your 10,000 foot view of the way we do things compared to other people? Because you had asked me earlier, like other agents and brokers who've never even met me, never shook my hand, but have some type of opinion about us, but don't even know us. what do you see that we're doing that's different than other people? Because you probably walk into different spaces and it's night and day.
Yeah, I think what you do differently is that you're using a modern platform and keeping what worked in what I would call the old way. So I think that there's a safety in knowing that you're on the right train tracks, you're going in the direction of the future, but there's the part that, like, I know my buddy got nervous about. He's maybe gonna get his real estate license. He doesn't follow through with much, and this is on camera, Adam. And he
calling him out.
He's got to hear it. Hey, you can change this after the video. But your dad talked to him, and the first thing your dad did was cut straight to the chase of, will I see you Monday? And I think it's actually the accountability that makes your stats go up. I'm not discrediting what Laura does, what you do, what your dad does to help everyone. It's what you talked about earlier, which is it's very hard to not do what you're going to say. And I think that's contagious in an office space. And I think as the more people come in, that gets tighter. I think the other thing that I look at, 10,000 foot view compared to other areas, is I think that there's still, like, and this is probably just me thinking I could do better, there's still a brand gap of who I think you guys actually are that everyone knows and who's online. And I think that gap is what creates the vacuum for the shit talk.
Why were you nervous to talk to us when you were trying to approach us to do videos? And you had said to me before that you feel like maybe some other agents are like, because consumers aren't. Consumers call us that's not
because catered to the consumer for so long that I think you forget that that's intimidating to others in the industry. If you know that, so like I'll use a basketball example. I didn't wrestle, but I was put in all of the LeBron James tournaments. I was the only white kid on my team. I was 5 inches shorter than everyone, and I was tall for my age.
Yeah.
When you're in 6th grade and you see a kid from Alabama select windmill, you very quickly...
Windmill dunk?
In 6th grade.
Yeah.
You very quickly realize that you're not the best. I'm probably not going to get those D1 offers. And that dude could be the nicest dude on earth, but I don't feel like it's an approachable guy.
Yeah.
And so I think when you look at, you guys are getting these $1 million listings now. You are having...
I will say, this past year, I had, I think, 5 or 6 that were over $1 million and one that was at 2.6. I've never had that before.
So think of the social risk it would take for me as an agent to call you and say, hey, Mike, I'm not doing that well. I think you have a system that works. I want help.
Yeah.
The risk is so high because if you say anything but love and support to them, it's humiliating, it's crushing, and it's a reminder of how far away they are from what they want.
Well, here's what on camera people need to understand. I am more than approachable and more than open to helping people. And if you're serious, why wouldn't I want to help you? But if you're going to call me and think that, here's this money tree that money just falls off of, and if you're not willing to do the work, then it's not going to be a fit. Because we've had people like that where they felt that they needed a position with us or they needed to do this, but then they don't know how to do certain things on contracts. They don't know how to run net sheets. They don't know how to, show up weekly for coaching. They don't know how to engage and do all these things. And you may be the best person and the most fun to hang out with, but that's not somebody that is going to advance in our world if they're not willing to take the time and put in the effort.
And so I think when you say what's the 10,000 foot view that people miss, I think it's the fact that you have your dad apparently plays guitar. You have Mario, who's this awesome dog. You've got you and Kara, who, even though on camera it's funny to look at what we cut out, are very supportive of each other. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that. I think a lot of people think it's stress, everyone's yelling, and it's not. And I think that's why when I say what the gap is, I think it's that there is this informal side to you that is fun, matched with you do what you say, you have the results. And so I would say for anyone that doesn't know you guys, that would be the thing to find out.
Yeah. And I definitely think that if you're out there and you're struggling and you need help, I might tell you that we're not a fit, but here's what I would tell you. Maybe based on a conversation we have, you're a better fit for this agent at that brokerage or this agent at that brokerage, or maybe you are a perfect fit for us. Maybe you're a perfect fit for our company, but not for our team. And that also is something that we're willing to help you. You don't have to be on our team for us to help you.
Yeah. So episode 63 was solid. What do you got the rest of the night?
For the rest of the night today was actually a good day. Had a seller's house close, had a final walkthrough with somebody else, have a new listing going live in Rocky River. What's crazy too is this year, 2025, will end up being my highest production year ever. And I started January and February out really slow, like what's going on? And now I've been doing all these tasks through November into December where I have all these listings that are coming in right into January and closings that are happening to make sure that next year is even better than this year.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it.